you did better than I did. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today for our 1 o'clock work session of the Cleveland City Council, Monday, September the 25th. As you see, we have a room full of important guests. None is more important than the mayor for the day, a junior at Cleveland High School. Go Raiders. Mario Ulloa. Did I say that right, Mario?
Yes, sir, you did.
Gloria a Dios. We are very thankful that he's here today to learn about local government. His favorite government is national government. Gracie Shamblin is here from Congressman Fleischman's office. Let the congressman know that he's wearing his congressional pin today, and I'm positive that Congressman Fleischman will be thrilled to hear that. He's already expressed his love for government and all things political, and that's a wonderful day to be here because Dr. Mark Scully, recently promoted to associate professor at Lee University, and your political science class are here with us today, and many other guests, and we're thankful that you are all here. I'm going to, Joe, if you don't mind, I'm going to take the proclamations out of order, just so we can present those. He looked at me like, sure, do whatever you want to do. Mayor Mario, is that okay with you if I do the proclamation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have two to present today. We have just returned, pardon the allergy affected voice of mine, we've just returned from the beautifully new, newly opened Cleveland Disc Golf Course, and we just cut the ribbon, and two council members. Which two got the basket? Was it Marcia? Tom and Marcia got the hole-in-one today.
I would have.
You would have.
Somebody had knocked me out.
We already have a little controversy up here at the council, but it was a great time, and the founder and creator of the disc golf course, Justin Spears, is here. Justin, if you'll join me at the podium. Mayor Mario, let's go down here and do this initially. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Thank God you're here. Lovely.
Start doing it, sir.
You're tall, anywhere you want to.
Okay.
Mario, you with us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Justin, we're really, really proud of you. And so we have a special commendation Mayor Mario and I want to present to you on behalf of the entire City Council. And Mario, this is what happens when you get old. You got to stop and put your glasses on. Justin, certificate of commendation and special recognition and appreciation to Justin Spears for your support in helping turn your hobby of disc golf into reality for the City of Cleveland and building an 18-hole disc golf course at Fletcher Park with a 4.5 rating on UDisc, the highest in our area. Justin, you've been very instrumental in securing funds and donors to build the Cleveland Disc Golf Course, and with the support of the City Council and the disc golf community, you devoted the last entire year to building Cleveland's first permanent 18-hole disc golf course at Fletcher Park. Now, therefore, I, Kevin Brooks, Mayor of the City of Cleveland, and Junior Mayor Mario Ulloa, present this certificate of commendation to you, Justin Spears, for your dedication and hard work to bring the Cleveland Disc Golf Course into fruition today, September 25th, 2023. This is suitable for framing.
Thank you, sir.
We're thrilled by your accomplishment. Thank you for what you've done for Cleveland, and you're welcome to say anything you'd like. This is yours.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. You're welcome to say whatever you like.
Sure. I won't say much. I said it this morning that the past year building this course has truly been the most fulfilling thing I've ever done in my life. To see the community come together, not just at the municipal government level, but our local volunteers, our local businesses that have sponsored it. It has been an incredible community undertaking, and I've been so privileged to be part of it. Thank you all so much.
Justin, here's a couple of demonstrations there for the folks.
Yeah, if you haven't been out there yet, please find us on Facebook. The Cleveland Disc Golf Club has just hit 730 members and is growing daily. Thousands of people have come out and played it already. It is a stunning course, and it's going to be enjoyed for just generations to come.
This is hole number one where Councilman Meg was robbed. From this hole number
He'll
one
get you
right
next
here.
time, I'm sure. I'm sure. But yes, please do come out and see it. People are playing it all of the time. This is the new thing to do in Cleveland, and you are going to love it. I can't wait to see you all out there. And I can't wait to build the next one for you.
We're ready.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Justin. Corey Dybel, I just saw you. Where did you go? There you are. This one's not so happy because we are saying goodbye to someone who has just truly been transformational to our city. So Corey, this is not an official goodbye because we're all going to come to Dollywood and see you because we hear you get free Dollywood tickets now. Corey has been with the city of Cleveland for 12 years, has done an incredible job, has been truly a transformational part of our city, and is leaving us for the city of Sevierville. So, Dolly Parton, please tell her we said hello. And she's always welcome in Cleveland. Corey, I have an official commendation for you from Mario and myself. Certificate of commendation presented to Corey Dybel. Whereas Corey Dybel during the last 12 years has served the city of Cleveland as city planner, senior planner, assistant to the city manager, and public information officer, you've contributed to and assisted in various departmental functions of city government. And whereas the performance of your duties and responsibilities and working relationships are always characterized by obvious dedication to getting the job well done. Where it's been communicated by Corey that he intends to leave your employment, and sadly, we have accepted his resignation. Now therefore, I, Kevin Brooks, Mayor of the City of Cleveland, and Mario, on behalf of the entire City Council, Corey, we express our sincere appreciation and thanks for your signal contributions to our community. We highly commend you for the manner in which you carry out your responsibilities and duties as a member of our staff, and we wish you well in all your future endeavors. Corey, thank you.
Thank everyone for all your support through the years. I love Cleveland. Enjoyed my time working with the city. Love the community. I love Bradford County. It's always be home. Spent most of my life here. My children were all born here. Met my wife here. My dad lives here. My in-laws live here, so we'll still be back alive. Maybe you know I have 5 children, so it's a great opportunity to provide for them and find a position to provide for my family. And so we're excited about it. It's definitely bittersweet, very sad to leave. Always home for us, so we appreciate everybody and hope that I was able to make Cleveland a little bit better than I found it and try to serve the best I can. Appreciate you guys.
Before you leave, any members of the council? Tom? Joe?
I was just going to echo the mayor's sentiments that Corey Pittified is the greatest example of a city employee. He gets here early, stays late. You know, if we ask him to go in probably from A to Z, you've been asked to do over the years. But it's the professionalism, it's the ability to communicate with people, and I think if you're going to go and poll our city employees and people that you work with, it's just that you're just a very good person, and that's what I'm most sad about seeing you leave, is that to lose good people like yourself it hurts. You are going to go and do great things and be very successful at those, and we have our support to be successful, and again, thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you, Joe. Any other members of the council would like to make any comments for Corey? About having captive one last time?
Sad to see you go. You've done a good job.
And Joe mentioned the early here and late to leave, and he forgot to mention the 24-hour phone calls you got from me. And I'm confident from everybody else. And those are the kind of qualities, Corey, that are going to be very hard to replace. Thank you. point, we will go back then to the regular order of the special presentations and public comments. Joe, that takes us to small area plan for College Hill and Blythe Oldfield. Mr. Glavis, you are recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I forgot to
and,
say cake. I forgot to say cake for Corey. Beverly, tell me about that.
Cake for Corey at 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
Cake for Corey at 4 o'clock.
Beer.
Justin told me and I had a conversation last week about what was on his wish list of some things that,
I don't think that's on.
what his wish list on some things that we wish that we could do in the Wildwood, College Hill, like Oldfield area. And at the same time, we are having conversations about setting up our RAISE grant plan, which is essentially is a plan to redo all of the infrastructure from Inman Street all the way probably to about East Street. And that includes the large bridge that goes over the railroad. One piece that we need to add to that is to make sure that there's continuity in our design, in our planning, in our land uses, and there's a lot of times we've gotten questions of, well, why haven't we been able to get doctor's offices or grocery stores or other retail over there? And this plan will go a long way to drilling into a lot of those key questions and coming up with a strategic direction on how we'll deal with that over the next 20 years. And the timing is perfect because you have all the new infrastructure, you have the Whirlpool property, and all those things. And so it just kind of struck us that now is probably the time to begin having the conversation. You know, as I said, the city has officially started the RAISE grant. The RAISE grant is a federal highway grant and paid for by the federal government. If you did a small area plan, and maybe I should back up there, it's basically a comprehensive plan is a plan for the entire city. And then you have small area plans that just focus on a specific area and drill down into that, like we did with out at Exeter 306, and then like we did with Michigan Avenue. We would probably have a similar approach. We've also received in kind of the big thing of the $33 million RCE grant, which will probably for the first time really connect both sides of the railroad for the next 100 years, and then all the other past accomplishments. The city council has spent a great amount of time and resources on improving the quality of life elements, improving the infrastructure in these areas, and we should get them down on a plan for what our next set of plans and discussions. And remind that these are public processes. You'll have public input, you'll have a steering committee with people from the different neighborhoods. And some of the things, you know, on these areas that we would include in the plan is you know, we recently completed the council's direction, Avery Johnson Park. We recently completed the Mosby Park. You know, we got a new gym floor at the College Hill Rec Center, and we have the walkway, which is really amazing that you can get from where we were a couple of years ago. And I know Hal's in the back of the room. He's actually the one that really brought up some of this, is that you can get on a sidewalk and walk from the new Avery Johnson Park all the way and connect the neighborhoods. You can go all the way to Blythe Oldfield Park. Then you can go down to 9th Street. Then you can go back over to Wildwood and Dooley and connect into Mosby Park. The second part of that, any day, we're gonna get, and we've said that before, but I think this is it. Gott Street is gonna connect down to Central Avenue. So you have a walkway that you can go from Avery Johnson Park all the way to downtown, with having sidewalks and not having to walk in the brush and all those things. A lot of good work has been done, I think, by the council on this. You have that's the Gott Street Mosby Park. You have the Raise grant that we talked about, RCE grant, and then you have the Dalton Pike sidewalk that in this area you connected the Walmart South all the way down, and you can get on a sidewalk and basically go to the health department, and when we get the Gott Street going, is that you can connect with the downtown. Not to mention the Blythe Oldfield Park, which is was one of our first adventures of trying to figure out what, in fact, I think it was our first park that we started to redo. And it still is actually one of my favorite parks that we've done. Timing is everything, as I said. We really asking Dustin on what his opinion on the timing of this, and it's really putting together that inertia and from the infrastructure grants, the Grace grant, RCE, that we should build and build a plan for these areas for the next generation. This new infrastructure will dramatically help these areas with connectivity, but we have to plan for the future. I'm recommending to the council that we look at doing such a plan. You know, the costs are usually $50,000 or so in that ballpark, and we will put it out. What we would do is we would determine the small area boundaries. So we'll have a conversation with the council. Where should these boundaries of where you want to study? Then you will develop a request for qualifications for the consultant. We'll bring in a consultant, and then we'll have a couple months to figure that out. So, with that, are there any questions or thoughts on doing doing a small area plan for this area? We may get a question from some other council members that we also need to do a small area plan, probably in the South Lee, APD 40 area, which we're talking about, and that should probably be paired with some of this at the right time. So, are there any questions at this time?
So, can I ask these questions? Lyndhurst brought Mike in. Mike wouldn't work with this kind of $50,000 because we've already had a small area plan for part of the neighborhood that was a great blueprint, right? He'd be starting with something in hand, right? It's not like his team would have to really, you hear what I'm asking?
I don't have the exact number off the top of my head on what the Blythe Oldfield master plan cost, thanks to Lyndhurst Foundation paying for it, but something similar to that in size and scope, but a little bit more, leaning towards the other areas that haven't been cultivated yet in that East Cleveland area would be like building off of.
Yeah, I want to see that's exactly what I want. If y'all have seen the.
Hanging up right there. Outside.
Okay, yeah, that's right, over the copier in that part of it. So, that's Joe, that's the kind of quality I would like to see and expanded on. And I feel like the boundaries were set, the communication was there, the consultants really spoke with the residents, not just came in.
Right.
A lot of groundwork. Okay.
And we could if they're Mr. Watkins,
Yeah.
we could look and see if he would want to come back and do that. I think he's out of Maryland.
He is.
DC area, just outside DC.
And he sometimes works like when he's brought in as a consultant to a job like this, he'll put a team together. It could be part of his own staff, or it could be, hey, this is unique to this community. I'm gonna bring in this person with laser focused expertise in that area. If it was different than the past job, you know, he did, he would form a team, but he would just probably be one of many that may bid on this.
Yeah, let me add context for my colleagues. I you know, consultants, whatever, I'm not necessarily saying it has to be more like this. But he was worth every penny. I mean, it was just amazing the help that gave city fields in direction. We can do the same for the city government.
Okay, yeah, are we done?
Yeah.
And so what happens? You had Mr. Watkins come in, and we have a plan that's hanging on the wall out there somewhere, because it's actually pretty.
Well, so it's hundreds of pages, right?
Yeah.
It's not
I
just.
understand that. But it gave us a playbook on how to redevelop. It was because of that plan that all the things that we just went through, or many of them, were outlined, and there were conversations with the communities, and that's what we want to do. As I currently said, is investors want to know what are the next steps. A lot of investors don't want to be the first or second or third, but if you give certainty and say, this is what the city is going to invest, this is where some opportunities are, and put all of that together, is I think we can bring all that synergy together. So I think that Dr. Estes is correct in saying that is what we're trying to accomplish is to create that development, private development synergy in the future on a bigger context than just the Blythe Oldfield area. Any other questions? Well, when we go through the agenda, we can catch up to that. At this point, I want to turn it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I thought that was an important topic to highlight
Thank
and bring to your attention.
Next, we have on the agenda to hear from our friends at Main Street. Ms. Moore, it's always good to have you with us.
Always good to be here. Just wanted to take a minute to update you all on a few of the many great things happening downtown, most of which you guys are doing such wonderful things, and we're receiving recognition across the state because of the wonderful things and your leadership in that. But first I want to say I echo everything that you said about Corey Dowell. He's been amazing to work with. He has been so influential and part of Main Street throughout his 12 years with the city, and we will miss him greatly. One of the things he led on was the Thriving Communities Initiative, where we did the back alley galleries. And it's been a great success, and actually Lyndhurst, we just found out last week, is giving us $15,000 for a back alley refresh that will be doing that to unveil in the spring. So we will greatly miss Corey, and I had refused to believe he was leaving, but I guess I have to believe it now. So, also just wanted to let you know that the last 2 weeks we have hosted a workshop for food and beverage entrepreneurs by Proof Incubator. It was through a grant from the State of Tennessee Placemakers Grant. We had over 30 attendees over those 2 weeks. And those are people who are either have restaurants downtown, looking to open a restaurant, food truck, caterers, etc. And it was great information. They will now have opportunities to have one-on-one hours with Proof leaders. And we're just grateful to have that opportunity to help these this category of great entrepreneurs. This picture you see behind me, we have wonderful partners. We're so blessed to have wonderful community partners, and the Halloween Block Party is coming up. Amazingly, 36 years for that event. Mars, of course, was wonderfully donate 40 pallets of candy. So we pack it with volunteers. Last year, it took us 9 times to get 10,000 bags packed, and we were down to the wire, and it was extremely stressful. This year, Olin, you see this group of 43-ish people from Olin 2 weeks ago came out to Tri-State and packed 7,000 bags that day between 9 and 2 o'clock. So I can't say what an amazing help that was and how tremendous that was. The classroom lead came last week, and we're finished with that. Candy is ready to hand out on Halloween night. As you can see, those stacked, that's back wall, all that candy stacked, that's Laura's donation to this event. So we just appreciate our corporate sponsors. Of course, Bacher is our sponsor for Friday Festivals, and it's just a huge help. And then lastly, last week, Main Street was asked to speak at the Governor's Conference in Chattanooga for ECD. Ben Berry, he's our board president, represented us to talk about the grants that we've been receiving in Cleveland, of course, the Sand and Mill, and then Ben with the Bill Our House received one of the first historic downtown improvement grants. So he did a great job representing us. There was a breakout session on the panel, about 300 people in the room. So I just want you to know that you're getting recognition in all areas. So thank you so much for your support and all you do to support downtown. Tomorrow from 4:30 to 5:30, I hope you'll join us at HHM. We have a networking Main Street after hours membership, so please come down. It's such a perfect example of downtown revitalization at its best, so come and join us.
Ben did a great job. In fact, he was had a pretty good period on the news that night, and he was from Cleveland and the whole program. So I was pleased to see. He did a great job.
He did do great. He said that was not in his wheelhouse, but I think we're adding it to the wheelhouse. He did great.
He is too.
Hey Sharon, you know, we've obviously had success with the Agora building, with the HHM building, and Sanda Hosiery Mill, I'm sorry, building. We have a grant that the city got to redo the facade across the street from HHM. Do you have an update on that?
We do. So that building is owned by Martha Obana. It's a 3-story with the silhouettes in the top. We're excited to help her with windows and do some facade improvements for that building. That will start to be completing that corridor from Edwards and Inman Street up to Parker. So that is getting ready to start. Waiting on the contractor to get rolling really soon on that. So we'll be seeing some changes there. So yeah, lots of great things.
And then I see a lot of activity going on over on Edward Street, like completely redoing all of that. Can you give everyone an update on that? What's going on there?
That property was sold. The corner of Parker and, Edwards and Inman was sold. The corner building and then the building right there across from Sanda. The new owner is taking that, I think it used to be years ago, water. So they're adding a whole new roof instead of the flat roof. They'll have an office there as well as leasing out the other bays. And then I'm not quite sure what the plans are for the corner building, but lots of great things. Great partnership, great synergy now in that area. Allows Nicholas Lilios to do some things there behind Agora and complete that traffic pattern to flow better. So it's a great change going on down there.
And then there's a rumor, and I think it's confirmed, that the building next to it, the David Herkel building, has sold, and they're getting ready to redevelop that right across the street from all that, right?
Correct, yes, and that's great news as well. So they're looking to do, I believe, apartments upstairs and then retail downstairs. So, yeah, so lots of wonderful things happening.
One more question. And then we have the grant that the council applied for that can do more facades and stuff down there. When will we know about that? It's $1.3 million, I think. The grant's 300, but...
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, 300,000. We should know this week. Corey Dival, Seth Sumner, I helped them, but they did bulk of that work, but I helped on that a little to the side. But yes, we should know this week if we get that facade improvement grant.
Do you think all of the work that the council has done, it's a leading question, I'll say.
Yes.
But in all seriousness, is getting those catalyst projects going and taking a little bit of risk is what is probably causing more ripple effect with all of these other redevelopments?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that's when the state reached out about the governor's conference. And there's so many great things happening in Cleveland. That was the quote. There's so many great things. We want to hear what you do. And And then these people buying up, lining up really to buy these buildings on Inman Street. Certainly, they want to be part of this revitalization, and for you to take the steps that you are is certainly the catalyst for it.
You think doing the streetscape downtown will help that even further or hurt it?
It will definitely help it. Definitely help it. Inman Street's changes will be, that's a game changer for sure. And I've always said, I've always believed anyway, that redeveloping the Cherokee was going to be really the turn for downtown. But all these things together are certainly transition subject for us.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Sharon. We have already done the presentations and proclamations for Justin and Corey, so that takes us to item E, which is NAACP, Mr. Lawrence Armstrong. Although we know very well who you are, if you'd state your name for the record, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, Council. My name is Lawrence Armstrong. I'm representing the President of the Bradley County NAACP branch. I come before you this afternoon basically to garner your support and basically just take a minute of time to urge the City Council to ask the City Manager of Cleveland to recuse himself from open records requests. The open records request is basically, just want to read you briefly. The Bradley County NAACP branch is taking a stand for transparency and accountability in local government. We are deeply concerned about recent events related to an open records request made under Tennessee Code Annexation 10-7-503 A2A and a potential conflicts of interest. To address this concern, we are calling on the Cleveland City Council to request recusal of the city manager from overseeing this matter. Open government and the right to access public records are fundamental principles of democracy. They help to ensure that the actions and decisions of our elected officials and government agencies are transparent and accountable to the public they serve. When these principles are threatened, it is our duty as advocates for civil rights and justice to take action. The Bradley County NAACP branch recognizes an open records request and sometimes unearth sensitive information that may be uncomfortable for certain parties involved. In the interest of preserving the integrity of the process and avoiding any potential conflicts of interest, we are urging the Cleveland City Council to request the city manager's recusal from this open records request. We believe that recusal of the city manager will help uphold the principle of transparency and accountability that are vital to our community, trust in its government by ensuring that impartial and independent party handles to open records requests. We can guarantee that the process is fair and free from perceived bias. In the spirit of collaboration and with the best interests of our community at heart, the Bradley County NAACP branch is ready and willing to work with Cleveland City Council and the city manager to address these concerns. Together we can demonstrate our commitment to open and accountable government, which ultimately benefits all residents of the city of Cleveland. I come before you because back in August, the Bradley County NAACP was approached by employees of the city of Cleveland. There were some concerns that were brought to us that we intentionally tried to take care of in-house, as we always do. I've been in this community for over 30 years and I've worked with just about everybody sitting behind this dais. And I say to you that this is the first in my lifetime that I ran into, I don't want to say obstructions, but unconscious biases in being involved in an open records request. It's a violation of the law, and I'm saying that I did receive 41 pages of fluff that was issued to me, but none of the real documents that I asked for were actually submitted. And I'm standing before you to say that enough's enough. I've done everything I can to potentially work through the proper chains of command. There's a lot of challenges within the local government and a lot of dissatisfied employees. And in order to get to the root cause, I really need the city manager to be recused of any open records request in the NAACP. I have a copy for each one.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Any comments or follow-up from the council? You said you did have a copy.
And one last thing, in one of the responses that was very disheartening. One of the questions that was answered by our city manager was, how are you ensuring that diversity is being considered? And in his statement, he blatantly says, in order to ensure diversity, we have established a diversity hiring goal. We send annual recruitment letters to 100 black men. We send annual recruitment letters to the NAACP. We actively develop relationships with key stakeholders that can bring diversity candidates to the city. In case you guys don't know, I've been serving as president of NAACP and the 100 Black Men for several years and have yet to see an annual report. So with that, I have concerns because the transparency and the honesty and integrity is taken out of the equation because this, sir, has not been done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. And if you'll provide that to the council. Thank you. All right. This concludes the agenda items for special presentations and public comments. It does offer the opportunity, if there's anyone here who wishes to speak public comments before the city council, this is the point in the agenda where that opportunity is available. If not, if you'll please come to the podium and identify yourself, please.
Hello, council. My name is Kenny McCormick. My wife Karen. We don't really know the process here, but we had spoke last week to Councilman May. With all this, seems like very important stuff going on this stuff, but it is important to us. So we need some stop signs. We don't know if this is the process of doing this or not, but we live at 233 McIntyre Avenue. Most are familiar with Mr. Holden's duck pond, White House down off of Julian and McIntyre. Our concern is the traffic coming down McIntyre heading west towards Ocoee Street. We have in the past year, I believe, got put in place a stop sign up at
You called and
up at Highland.
at Highland,
Yeah.
and we thought, when we talked at that point,
We thought that would help. I almost want to think that hurt. We've been residents there now 4 years, and Mr. Holden's not. We kind of caretake over his place, and we're kind of the neighborhood family. We have young boys, and there's so many people that come to the duck pond and feed the ducks, take pictures, eat lunch. There's a lot of traffic there, physical traffic. So I do know we did a study, the city did a study about automobiles coming down the road, and somehow it did not fall in a zone of the amount of traffic, and our point is it's only going to take one, and there's a good enough amount that it's a major concern. We've not done an exact number, but I would be wanted to say that it's 8 out of 10 vehicles are, I believe it's a 25 zone, is that right? And the city has set sent officers over to check speeding, but it's just nonstop. If anybody goes and has lunch at the duck pond, they'll see how pretty bad it is. We have numerous. My wife has saved.
the one thing that's increased that problem is all the development that we have on Weeks
Yes.
Drive. And that's a
They cut through it.
shortcut
Yes, sir.
in Highland and, what's the other street?
Elm is above us.
Elm.
Julian is below us.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Where do you want the sign?
we would love it at Elm. Elm and Julian if we could, but if push come to serve, I think, we would love it probably more at Elm and McIntyre as opposed to Julian and
I was
McIntyre.
going to say, so McIntyre and Julian, that's a two-way right now,
Yes.
And so is Elm,
Elm.
and you're asking for a four-way.
yes. Because they come off the hill and never stop till they have to get to Ocoee. And so if we could, that's going to be where the duck pond is in between those two. So that's where it would slow them down, so.
We've taken numerous pictures of pets, ducks, geese. Obviously, those are not pets, but they're part of the community that everybody goes to see there. A lot of people don't know that Mr. Johnny lets people park in his driveway, so they'll park on the grass right on the road, and then their kids get out. And my fear is that it's going to be a challenge one of these days, because people will get up to 60 and 70 on that road because so many people cut through, they don't even realize it's like a neighborhood.
On McIntyre.
Yes, they come through McIntyre, they cut over to Weeks and all that back there, and it's so much of a cut through, even from from Julian to McIntyre to miss 25th and Ocoee Street light. I have responded to 2 wrecks at that McIntyre and Julian stop sign since we've been there. And I have witnessed almost so many more, because people don't even stop there because they look and they say, oh, well, they don't even realize that the other people don't have to stop.
And on that point, we have 2 small boys, but it's almost not even, ours know
Yes.
they look a lot before they move. It's almost, we don't want to come to the council in the city and say, hey, get us stop signs in front of our house, because it's so many more other people that don't live there that come up
They're not aware of
and
it.
enjoy it, so.
And I've actually said stuff to parents.
Sure.
Please pull in the driveway so your children are safe.
Thank you.
But that's it.
We're thankful. And by the way, you began with, this is not important.
Well, it is very, yeah.
This is very important.
There's some, yeah, it is to us, obviously.
Chief, you don't have any anecdotal data, I know it's off the top of your head, about McIntyre and Julian, that area of crash reports?
Not anything recent. I think we've looked at it several years ago, particularly on Julian, coming from 25th Street to McIntyre. But I know our staff has talked quite a bit when they have this problem, so
Yeah.
it's definitely seems to be a consistent issue. But
Mr.
Yeah, I
Flavis?
spoke to Assistant Chief.
Mr. Flavis, maybe we
Smith.
could get Mr. Shealy to run a safety
Yeah,
study.
yeah. We'll run what we call a traffic analysis on that area. Beverly, who is back there, she will get your phone number before you leave, and
Okay.
we'll be in contact and we'll work towards a solution.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you for being here. All right, any other public comments? Mr. Milligan, were you standing up to?
Just let him sit down, sorry.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. If you'll please state your name for the record.
Yes, Ray Sharon King, Bradley County NAACP. We would like to ask that the information that was presented by President Lawrence Armstrong be added to the 3 p.m. meeting agenda.
All right, I can honor that request. There is a similar item number 5, special presentations and public comments at the 3 o'clock. We will have it under special presentation and public comments. Thank you, Ms. Kim. Any other persons wishing to address the council? Seeing none, Mr. Flavis, item number 2, city manager's report.
All right. Thank you so much. We have some updates to give the city council on many important items. We had already went through, and you've seen the pictures on Fletcher Park. On Fletcher Park, the mayor already did that. It just goes without saying that Justin, who was here earlier, I live fairly close proximity to that. He is out there every single day, whether hauling mulch or putting in signs. He deserves a great amount of accolades for what he's been able to do that. Rob Alderman was certainly the driver of that as well. I think that as we discussed out there, But I think it's important for a lot of people to know is when someone really puts their blood, sweat, and tears, that they are recognized, and he's someone that really has really done a lot.
Can I ask if the council or city would recognize Justin and Ramos for this report? To put some type of thing out there on the first hole, recognizing them and their commitment to this part, plus the disc golf for the community that came in to help with that. Is that possible to do that show? To recognize Justin and Ramos, recognize both of them with some type of thing out there, the first hole.
Yeah, we could put a little plaque or something and just say,
like that.
thank you for your
Second, I'll do
recognition
that all the
of
time, to honor them in the disc golf community too. That part. Can we do that? So they opened up, who was involved with it somewhat, so people can keep up the history. I think history is important as we go into the next 20, 50 years of how to establish and do establish.
Moving on from that, but yes, I don't think we need a vote. We'll come up with a little thing, we'll send it out to council, we'll look at the proof and go from there. One thing that's important, I don't know if it was discussed today, is that we do have our first tournament that will bring people from all over the area, October 15th. Our staff has been working on that. Then we have our first professional series event. That event, the person that was today from Prodigy, Will, he owns that company, is that, so they have a series of events, Prodigy events, and so one of those professional series is going to be out there. We have a lot of work to do to figure out parking and stuff like that. And we just thank all those that were involved. We have the RAISE grant. As we talked about earlier, don't need to go into that. We've started that process. There's going to be public meetings that are going to be coming up probably in October, maybe November. We encourage people to be active in that process. Wanted to hit on the Mouse Creek Paul Huff intersection. But the Mouse Creek Paul Huff intersection is getting close to complete, and the picture got cut off there. You have the mast arms there. We did some paving. We have the curb in, and we're getting very close to having that open. Our goal is to have that 100% completed by the end of October. The pavers will come back and pave the whole thing and reline it, and we should be there on that, and hopefully, and we had pretty good weather recently for a change. We can make that happen. North Ocoee and the 25th Street intersection, we had an opportunity at Councilman Cassida's community meeting to meet with the new chief engineer for the Region 2. And we're going to take that opportunity and probably go down and seem very open to some of our concerns and go and see what, make sure he knows that that's a priority for us and help with any issues that we have in the future. Civitan Park, this one is getting close. Right now, it's very tentative on the November 1st date. That the November 1st date is at noon is a Civitan Club meeting. We'll invite the Civitan Club. I know you guys meet at the same time at the Lions Club, Avery. If you can invite the Lions Club if you guys wanted to come down and enjoy us. But we're also going to have some of the kids from Stewart Elementary come out and enjoy us, and the school board, which is obviously part of that. That park, if you went by Deer Park this last week, actually all of our parks, it was
it was, I mean, just every park we had was maxed out. And this is coming at the right time to help with that backflow. You know, there's 2 great pavilions, and this will be, it's different than other parks that we've done, but it's very nice. Tinsley Park construction update. Do you have those designs? I got him right when he wasn't ready to go. So, we're getting close, or really this is the last step in our process. We have designs for the entire park, and you've seen some of those. We've already done some demolition out there. We're going to be redoing some of the softball fields around the outside, taking the fences down, putting up some netting, new fences. We're going to redo the entire parking lot, add a substantial number of spots, and then redo and have a sidewalk connecting all the way up to the pavilions, where we will do a facelift on those pavilions down at the end and redesign that end area so it's just not all sand as it is. And then obviously one of the bigger items is the pickleball tournament venue. This is a design. It has, let's count and make sure, you have 8 courts that would be undercover. You have another 8, I have to count them. 8 plus 8, 16, I think 20. We have 20 courts. It actually went back and forth between 20 and 18. This will be probably one of the nicest pickleball facilities within probably couple hundred miles. There certainly is the demand out there. How this project would proceed is if the council is okay today, we would go to bid with our bid documents on the entire park. The first part that we bid this is we have the heavy equipment, do some grading, and by the time we got the grading done, the contractors would come in and put this facility in. So this facility will attract the tournaments, will allow more league play and a lot of the other issues. If you go out there on any given time, it's basically people waiting to play. And this we always waited to see if pickleball was going to slow down or not, and we see no indication of that. This facility, our costs are right around $2 million. And we would probably buy separately packages. This building, and we have a restroom that will serve for the baseball and this facility. And that will probably help reduce some of the costs. Overall, we plan to spend about 3.5, depending on if we decide to up some of the finishes, might get up to $4 million. We have the money available to knock it out. This park has probably not had many renovations over the last, since it was probably built, and this would be a total and complete renovation. And I want to hear any comments, questions, thoughts, and we have staff here who can answer your questions as well.
So, although we're doing 20 new courts, and you said 6 courts on the roof, right?
It's actually 8.
Yeah. And although we're doing that, we're going to have about 50 additional parking places.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yes.
that's gonna be nice, because the parking out there, there's parking just all over, people taking up two spaces and what have you. So that's gonna be a real nice addition to have 50 new parking places. Great project.
Thank you. Any other comments from the council? I echo Councilman Hughes, it can't be done soon enough. I think it's going to be a great addition.
That's what the front picture would look like. We have the similar sign. I will say, the pavilion will not look exactly like that. We will probably bring you 2 or 3 different options, because you buy them from a company, and you can pick what you want. You know, you have your middle, you have your middle tier, you have your little above, and then you can go there, and we'll bring some cost points, and the council can select which pavilion that you want there.
As long as we keep the Raider blue ceiling at the roof, I'm fine.
There you go, there you go. It also has a center court, so that when you're playing, it can be available, but it allows to have tournament play or just league play. See that? That's what it looks like under cover. I think in actual our drawings, if I'm right, it is 6 courts that are underneath the things.
I think it's 8.
I think it's 8.
Is it? Okay. All right.
4 and 4. Yeah.
So, that's what it would look like at night. And we can certainly supply these pictures, and we look at this as an economic development. You know, we have people that are coming from all over East Tennessee to come and play pickleball. I mean, a lot of people from Ottawa and Chattanooga come up and play. You know, we have a great community of pickleball players, and we think that it's a good investment for sports tourism and stuff like that.
Joe, you were talking about the pickleball. Let's talk about the existing buildings and ball fields. All of those are going to be reworked in this renovation?
Yeah, the restrooms and that line of buildings from the restroom down will all be demolished, and that area will be redone. Right, John?
Yes.
Okay. So when this project is complete, then everything in that facility will have a new look.
Yes.
Okay.
Except for the pool. Except for the pool.
What?
Except for the pool.
Except for the pool, right, I understand. Yeah. That's good project.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and bid it on that. You can go back to the thing. As a second note, we had a long conversation with the soccer community, and I think they've come and have echoed what some of their thoughts are, and we're putting together cost quotes for a lighting system. Lighting out there at the soccer complex will provide more hours of play and expand a lot of those other options too. We're probably going to Musco, as I think there's a state contract for that, and so they've kind of decided and approached us to say this is what our main priority is, and we're basically going to go and get some cost quotes, and we'll bring those back to you and get all that.
Joe, one thing I'd like to add to the soccer fields, my grandson's been playing soccer out there for 3 years, and my daughter lives out there on that field too. Is there a way to get a traffic count for that out there? Because as I travel more and more, I see, on Sunday evenings, afternoons, there's a tremendous amount of traffic backed up and goes all the way back where Mr. Zip was on back. Is there a way that we can do a traffic count to see how many automobiles are traveling that road?
Do you really want to know?
Yes, sir. I really want to know. I really want to know. I think it's important for when we talk about safety.
Yeah, we agree.
For our community.
Yeah, that's not a problem. That's not a problem.
That we can do that. that and see what the need is, like Michigan Avenue. Because, and there's some blind spots up there. Cary Drive on Mouse Creek, where my daughter lives, you pull out there as a hill, it's only like 50 yards. And when you pull out going left back to town, I have to get in the left-hand lane. And I'm afraid to pull over because come over that hill, somebody's coming down through there, you know, it'll broadside you, T-bone. So, but I would, with more traffic going out there, with more time to play, like you're saying, is as we look at the infrastructure too for safety. You know, I appreciate it.
Quick update on community meetings. Last week we had good attendance and good questions from our community meeting. The next one is tomorrow night at the library. And then District 1 has one at October 19th at 7 o'clock at the museum. Everyone on board with that? S&K Foods has a ribbon cutting tomorrow. 840 jobs. We have the largest investment ever in Tennessee. And so good things keep on happening. They will begin construction, and I think there's, I don't want to speak to their time frame because it's not my time frame, but I think they want to probably be open as soon as they can possibly do that. But all of that will start tomorrow. I'm not sure what's going on with the pictures. If you haven't been out to Atkinson, it looks fantastic. We have a curb with a planting area, with a sidewalk from one end of the campus down to the other end of the campus, and it's also paved. That has been one of the worst pieces of pavement in the city for a long time. Our next steps out there, when you go, and I obviously didn't get the pictures that I needed, that will be to put in crosswalks. And I'm saying this, it will slow down traffic, but we'll probably put crosswalks similar to what you have at the university out there, speed tables, to slow down the traffic for those students. It will slow down traffic, and just be aware, and if anyone has any concerns with that, let us know. But I think it's the right thing to do for the students that are crossing from their parking lots into the buildings.
Joel, I was through that area yesterday, the improvements already, quite the improvements. It really was good.
I'll echo that, Joe. I drove through this weekend also. Beautiful paving job, smooth as silk. I'm glad we're going to put the crosswalks back because they were there. But the only question I had was, it stops just past campus, and we are going to complete it all the way to Paul Hub at some point, correct? Correct. That's phase 2, 2.0 or something?
Yes, yeah. Second phase will go all the way down to the future new intersection at Front or Atkinson and Paul Hub. So it'll go all the way down and connect in all of that. And that would be, there's a lot of people that live through that area, and that would be a huge benefit. Those are one of the roads that have deep ditches off each side. It's really not even possible to really walk on it safely. And that's why I think it's a priority to take care of that issue. Then the third leg of that will be the state project, which will come in and pave, put the final paving on everything, and do that entire section and finish that up. So all of those are.
And I haven't seen the plans for that Atkinson frontage intersection. I know that the Mouse Creek, we're blowing it up to about 6 lanes across, but since we began this discussion of Atkinson frontage and Paul Hub, the city has approved 3 additional new hotels on the frontage side, and I'm hoping that we have planned the similar kind of Mouse Creek, multiple lanes in every direction.
You know, one thing too, Paul, come off the interstate. Dave made a comment in that meeting too. You shared with the committee and the council about the 3 lanes or 2-lane turn lane coming all northbound and southbound. They threw that out there. The state's talking about the exit off of Paul.
Yeah, at Mr. Cassidy's meeting, they announced that they're probably going to go out to bid in October.
Yes.
And they're going to be redoing, and we've mentioned this before, and widening the on and off ramps for exit 27. And it's actually a fairly significant project. Right now, on some, you have people backed up almost all the way to the highway, and many of you have seen that. So they will go and they'll widen that out. They'll modify that intersection. We will do new intersection lighting there, and it'll be a significant
stackable envelopes like we did in Georgetown. Double stacks.
Any more questions on? I do have, I'm sorry, I missed a couple things. You know, the Whirlpool property, we're still in discussions. I think tomorrow is another discussion on the Whirlpool property on starting that redevelopment, hopefully. We also have an update on the Cherokee redevelopment. We're probably a week away, and this is the new building. We're probably a week away from getting everyone in there. Right now, they're down on the bottom floor. They've taken out a lot of the old mailboxes and a lot of that stuff, because they're basically stripping out all the stuff that was added over the years. And it really looks much different. They've taken all the ceilings out, and it's stripped down, and you can see more of the building than you ever have. So we'll probably set up an opportunity for people to go in and check that out, and you can bring friends or whoever you want to. So we're getting closer and closer. The architects are mainly working on your HVAC, your electric service, your plumbing, a lot of those issues in the building, trying to figure out how to make all those things work. There's kind of there's a discussion with the historical folks. They are giving us historical tax credit on how can you put new systems in without damaging the historical context of that. They're also looking at the outside of the building is how do you get rid of that big box on the end of the building appropriately, and looking at the elevator stuff. Those are probably 3 big questions that they're looking at. They will probably have design, or preliminary designs, what you would call them, probably in the next couple of months for everyone to really dig into and roll up our sleeves and look at them. I do have I passed out a copy of a letter to Mayor Davis at the county, and the letter to Mayor Davis, as you have in front of me, that basically the county asked us for a proposal on purchasing the county fire and rescue building at 260 Inman Street. And this is next to the HHM building, and this is across from all the stuff that we talked about. Staff looked at this and tried to figure out, well, what is the best way to do this? And we've had conversations, obviously, with the county over the last year or so. And what we think is what will get the most traction is for the city. There's a parcel of property on Dooley Street between the EMS station and the health department, that we can put about an 8,000 square foot building, and that 8,000 square foot is what they've kind of targeted. The building they're in now is a little bit larger, but it's also chopped up and much more, and this will be just a clean 6-bay with an office, with bathrooms, and so what we would propose is that the city would go in and build them a shell. And basically, we would grade it, we would pour a pad, and we would have contractors do that. And then we would order a building and put in a building and have probably a local contractor erect that building. And then we would hand it over to them so that they do any upfits inside. In exchange for that, we would get the 260 Inman property, and then we can start talking about redevelopment of that strategic building. You have a letter, the mayor and I talked this morning. We would like to be able to have a conversation, and that we would communicate this letter to the county, and then that would begin the conversation, and the mayor and I would go and probably meet with them and figure out how close we are, and trying to get this issue behind us. So this is something that they've asked us for a proposal, and we're giving them the opportunity to be able to respond. Anyone have any questions with this letter, or need any more detail? This does not bind us to anything. What would happen is, even if they agreed with everything that was in this letter, you would still have to do a purchase agreement, and that's where the fine details would be worked out among the council and the county commission of what all of those items are. You know, we would have a due diligence period. We would have to agree on a site plan design, make sure everything, you know, exactly what it is and what they're expecting and what we're expecting to make sure everything happens. And then we would close the transaction, and then we would begin the project. Questions?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I think we need to go back to the NAACP issues. And there's a lot of issues on the letter that was given to us. And one of them that really concerns me is the one where they want to remove the city manager from the process of gathering the information. I don't even know if legally we can do that. And specifically, I know that you probably got some issues that we need to look at and really be thorough about every issue that's written and documented from the NAACP. So, Mr. Armstrong and Joe, you've probably already been talking to our legal attorney and everything. No. Is there an issue, a problem with us gathering the information that they requested?
Well, let me, if you're asking, I'm happy to respond to that.
Yeah.
All right. So we received the open records request, and at that point, which doesn't happen very often, and with an important group as the NAACP, we wanted to make sure that we did all the due diligence and made sure that we were getting the information that was being requested. I've done open record requests, they're called different things, for 20, 25 years. First thing I did is I called them and said, hey, we should, Beverly called them, we should sit down and because Mr. Johnson, Avery Johnson and I had a conversation about, hey, what's going, hey, I asked him, you know what's going on with this? And he didn't really have any details. I said, let's sit down and talk to him and figure out the details. So at that point, we scheduled a meeting and trying to work through the information to make sure that it was accurate. I talked to Mr. Lawrence Armstrong, who I've always had good relationships with, and certainly have had communications in the past, and who I've known to have had no issues. Talked to him by phone, expressed that having this meeting was very important. In my experience is that sometimes people ask for things and what they're asking for may not necessarily be the right way to ask for things. I wanted to sit down with them, and this is all in writing, wanted to sit down and make sure that we got them everything that they needed. And that was the meeting that we were going to have, right? And so, and that meeting didn't happen. And at that point, we went through and answered every question that they had. Open records requests are for records. Some of the questions that were posed were more, I think, other good questions. And I voluntarily said, we're happy to address your questions in writing, and then we can go from there on, because I didn't know what their concerns were because they didn't come to the meeting. So I don't mind. I'll just go through each question and show you that we've answered everything. I'll give you each a copy. And these things happen sometimes on misunderstandings. And doing it for 20, 25 years, sometimes I don't have any issues with people questioning how do we do the documentation or whatever. I made an effort to try to get to the bottom of what was necessary. So question number one was the human resource policy for violent filling vacancies. We gave them our personnel manual that talked about the applications. Answered the question. Number two, we don't necessarily have a document that outlines that, but we gave a editorial or a response. Not necessarily the document, but we wanted to respond in totality to what the questions were. How long does it have to be posted? It varies. Sometimes there's more different, but we don't have a document for that, so we still address that question. Is diversity taken into consideration? And you can see, yes. We answered the questions. I've had conversation with Evie West at the police department. They do a lot of our, as you know, a lot of our hiring is in the police department. We have a little bit more turnover there, and she is the one that is responsible for the recruitment. We went through, she told me about our process. She talks every year, they send annual letters that they have. There's contacts at Lee, there's someone that has different areas in space, and being a Hispanic woman, we talked about, briefly, about the importance of that. Mark Gibson and I talked quite frequently on diversity. So we answered the question the best of it. Number 6, who oversees the hiring process? I took this language right out of our policies. Number 7, please provide the job descriptions and salaries for Jonathan Joe, Tommy Myers. I'm not going to, you can see the names, I'm not going to list the names. We provided all the job descriptions for these folks. We provided the salaries. And they talk about the future roles in transitioning, and if you see in the editorial comments, we haven't made those transitions. We don't have job descriptions for jobs that haven't started yet. I explained that in here. And asked for job postings for these 2 other employees that are on here. We gave them what we had. When did the postings begin? We answered that question. How and where are the postings listed? Answered the question. How many applicants? Gave them that information. What is the diversity makeup of the applicants? Our applications, as most organizations, are blind. We don't necessarily know. What job descriptions and titles do we have for the director of the College Hill and Community Cleveland Community Service? I addressed that we gave them that document. Are the salaries or hourly positions exempt in overtime? And this isn't a document. We voluntarily answered their question. What is the position and job description of Paul Wyrick? We addressed that question. What is the past salary for 2022 and 2023? We addressed that question. That material is in the information we gave them. What is the grievance process? Took out of our personnel manual, gave them the grievance process. How was the process handled? It involves a grievance against the city manager. We took, it's the same process, but we gave them that. What's the timeline for the response? The timelines are within the process, so we gave them that information. Please provide all emails. We did an email check and gave them what we had. And then you see the last question on procurement card stuff. I think that there's probably a misunderstanding. And I'm happy to work with Mr. Armstrong. They've always been very friendly, me and the city, and I think we should just figure out how to work and get them the information, which was my intent from the beginning. And I think that would be the appropriate thing, is to have a conversation and make sure that if there's things that they are different than what they're saying that they're looking for, we're happy to provide them anything that they're looking for, or address any questions. That's probably longer than what you thought, Mr. Vice Mayor. All right, but I just wanted to address your question on that. I think our responses are fulsome, and we'll leave it at that. I just wanted to make sure that they're here and we're communicating. This is all good. This is part of the process, and I'm quite certain that these issues can be resolved, and we're happy to do that.
I was just noticing on page 1, there are 6 questions about hiring practices. You know, we should be able to answer those on page 1, just page 1, this document here. 6 questions just about hiring practices, every one of them. Our positions posted. How long does it have to be posted? Is diversity taken into consideration? Human resource policy filling vacancies within the city of Cleveland, both internally and externally. You know, and then the final one was who oversees the entire hiring process. You know, we have human resource department personnel, people that take care of interviewing and hiring people that are qualified and all that. But did you answer all these, Joe?
This is the document that I gave them.
This is one you give?
Yeah. So
I think we would, you know, and I don't want to get a stand up here one on one side, one on the other, because it's not like that. It really isn't. I mean, we really try to work together on everything. You know, and I would like to hear what Mr. Armstrong has to say, because I'm sure he created this document, has a staff of people to do that. And we need to really, Mr. Mayor, just try to give him a chance after Joe finishes here to say what he has to say. But we need to come up with a process. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, and he can go down, I mean, we can talk to him. I'm just happy to sit down with him and work on this, but I think it's important to hear both sides, and there, and if it's up to the mayor, if you wanted to.
Any objection from the council? Vice Mayor would like to hear from Mr. Armstrong. Mr. Armstrong, the Vice Mayor would like to hear your response.
Thank you, Ms. City Manager Joe Fivers, for attempting to answer certain questions. I apologize to the City Council for all those that weren't able to get the actual OR, open records request. Vice Mayor Johnson, Councilman Estes did have the opportunity to receive the actual open records request. And in that request, anyone in this office can read the last statement states, finally, I'd like to request an itemized receipt statement of Joe Fivers' procurement card for the month of April, May, June, and July 2023. I'd like for the council to ask Mr. Fivers were those records submitted. Another thing I'd like to add is that these questions that Mr. Fivers responded to are sub-questions under the original documents that were being requested. So the manipulation of this particular document and the answers that are given is why I'm asking for Mr. Fivers to be recused of this particular situation. Because unfortunately, as much as I've tried to sit down and have conversation, it started. And let's just back up for a second. I'm standing before you because 2 city employees had a small concern. And I initially tried to handle it in-house and go through the proper chains of command. When I asked to set up a meeting and just meet with someone I know for a long time, was Kim Miller now, I just wanted to have a conversation. And I couldn't, because it said that Mr. Fivers had to be a part of this conversation. I said, that's fine. If Mr. Fivers has to be a conversation, could we please add the city attorney to this meeting? And also, I'm going to ask for these other documents, so we can have an intelligent conversation and sit at the table and work this out. That was agreed upon, and that date was set for Monday, 9 a.m., September 18th, to meet in this facility. That's the original scheduled meeting. That's the original conversation that we had. However, during the process, after this meeting was scheduled, 2 days later, I received a call from Mr. Fivers asking if I would meet with him and Vice Mayor Johnson. Selectively, out of all the council members here, it was Vice Mayor Johnson. Now, just for the record, I intentionally did not reach out to Vice Mayor Johnson. He was never aware of any of this conversation. I'm standing before you. Guess what? Councilman Estes, Councilman Consada can say they've seen me, can say they spoke with me. But out of everyone on this council, it was selected that Vice Mayor Johnson was the person who's going to speak and calm Lawrence down. Let's have this private meeting with Vice Mayor Johnson, but Lawrence Armstrong that you know anything about. So anyway, I declined this meeting. I came to the office here, spoke to Ms. Beverly, explained to Ms. Beverly I was not meeting with Vice Mayor Johnson and Mr. Joe Fivers because the information that I requested had not been turned over and had not been submitted. At that time, and this was on Tuesday, the week prior to September 18th, he assured on that day, by 6 o'clock, he would send me everything that was requested. In the exact same email, documented that night that he sent those documents over, I responded that we did not receive all the documentation and that meeting would not happen. And that's in writing to his email that he sent that I responded to. I'm not here to cause a lot of drama and go back and forth. All I'm asking for is transparency. This situation has really gotten blown out of proportion and never had to get here. At the meeting on September 18th with Mr. Kimball, Kim Miller and Joe Fivers and I could have had that conversation, we wouldn't be standing before you today. But there's things that led to these different conversations that created lack of trust. There's 2 emails. There was an email sent on Friday, the 3rd, I apologize for the record date, but on Friday evening at 5:55, I was out eating with my wife. I get an email from Joe Fivers, very passive-aggressive email, basically talking about how I didn't show up for the meeting that Friday morning and this, that, and et cetera, which I had already said I wasn't going to be there 2 days prior. And never responded to that email that Friday evening. Very passive-aggressive email. That Saturday morning, I get another email saying that after further consideration, that he'd like to work things out, let's make it happen. Still didn't respond to that email. Why? Because he said after he's really spoken with Vice Mayor Johnson, he realized some things and would like to move forward. Vice Mayor Johnson was here on Friday morning. The first email came Friday evening. He never had any more conversation with Vice Mayor Johnson from Friday morning to Saturday morning. So you sent 2 emails back to back. For whatever reason, I don't know what happened between those time frames, but I do know that Vice Mayor Johnson had no more conversations from Friday morning to Saturday morning. And with that being said, was where it rose my suspicion to say, at this point, don't think it's a good idea to have a lot of conversation because things are being taken out of context. The conversation is not going in the right direction. And I say, one thing I believe in is having receipts, full receipts. I'm not showing you anything. I didn't pull certain statements out of an open records request and try to respond to them. I'm giving you the actual open records request that was submitted along with every email, not picking and choosing what I'm showing you, gentlemen. And ladies, I'm sorry. But I'm standing before you to let you know that at this junction, there's bigger issues than what I'm standing before you today. And I'm asking the city council to have the city manager recused from any open records request until we can further come back and share our concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Mr. Vice Mayor, any follow-up?
Mr. Mayor, I really would like for us, while we're in a formal meeting, to really come together and decide if there is an issue or agree or disagree, if we can really put an issue to a vote, that we provide the information. I don't know, legal attorney would have to tell us whether or not we can leave the city manager out. I really don't want to leave him out of the conversation, even though you disagree now on a lot of things. I think that we can kind of get through that and sit down and work things out. And, and then if this council wants to put it on the agenda as an agenda item and let us vote it up or down, whatever we got to do. And we all have been involved in business. We've been involved in a lot of situations similar to this, if not like this. But Mr. Mayor, I think we need to somehow or another resolve the issue and resolve it today.
Mr. Vice Mayor, there was a request by Mrs. King to add NAACP comments at the 3 o'clock voting session.
Yeah.
And at that time, it would be the will of the council if you wanted to add something to the new business section.
Yeah.
And we can discuss that at the 3 o'clock session.
Well, I want to make sure we're clear on what it is that we need to discuss and to provide. Make sure we're giving Mr. Armstrong, the NAACP, the information that they asked for, and make sure that we're voting on a legal disagreement.
Certainly.
And trying to resolve the issue.
Well, we still have the review of the agenda. We still have council members' reports rapidly approaching 3 o'clock. So we can either continue the discussion here at the work session, or we can wait until that 3 o'clock voting session.
How does the rest of the council feel? I do. I know some of you have already talked.
What he said? I'm sorry, I feel that this might be more important than some of the things on our 1 o'clock agenda.
Well, we can roll the reports of council to 3 o'clock. That would eliminate that.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Okay.
But I'm just one voice, right? Whatever y'all, I mean.
So we'll roll the reports of council members and move that to the 3 p.m. session. And Mr. Estes, you have the floor.
Okay, well, I want to speak because I was brought into this a week ago or so. And I tried to my colleagues, I tried to piece this together through the emails that were sent me. And the questions I've got, I brought the emails that were sent to me here with Mr. Armstrong and the NAACP's original requests. Some of those are not open records requests, they're not for records. So that doesn't, we can have those conversations, we can get that information, the city can get that information different. It's not like records will provide, it's not a standard thing. I think, let me go to this. Following what Vice Mayor Johnson says, let's get everything sorted out and hashed out. If I'm hearing NAACP correctly, you are not satisfied with number 21 on here. Are there other numbers you're not satisfied with the answer provided by Mr. Files?
Yes, sir. We did not get actual documentation showing what positions were posted on individuals that were hired. And they didn't have any dates showing those postings. We was told, we were copied and sent, not copied, we were sent documentation on what should be done. We did not get the actual information of what was done, to be intentional. And again, nothing personal against the individuals that were hired, but even starting with Dustin Tommy, was hired into a position that was never advertised through the city of Cleveland, whether it be the website or anything else. No one else had an opportunity to apply for that position. Is that right? Is that correct? And so I'm saying, when we start asking for open records requests, I'm asking for the documentation showing that there was a position bid or posted on the website. You go to the city's website, it has positions that's still out there from 2019. We couldn't find anything recent.
So, okay.
And I'm
Any
saying,
of these,
I mean, there's several, and that's why I said I highlighted them in red on the other document, on the answers, the ones that weren't answered. So we can go, I won't take this opportunity to go.
well, I read that too.
Yeah.
I think that's important. I
Yeah.
think that's what Vice Mayor Johnson's asking for, the specifics.
Yes.
And some of those are not things that like a city manager would accuse themselves from. It's a document or it's not.
So one of the things when I talk about recruitment, I'm talking about recruitment from the entire process. Let the HR department, let whichever department is responsible, whether it's finance, whichever department is responsible, he hired these people and put them in positions to do a job. Allow them to do their job. Why does he have to be hands-on when these people are more than qualified to do the task? So I'm saying, because this org chart is publicized and was brought forward for the city council to approve. You guys voted on it, approved it. These people were put in place to do a job. And I'm saying, allow the people in these positions to do their jobs. The city manager does not have to be engaged, especially when there's a conflict of interest, when there's information being requested pertaining to the city manager.
Mr. Kimball, can you jog my memory? Can you jog my memory? I can remember, and this is from Janice Day, Mrs. Castile days, that when there was an FOI, we were notified as a council.
I don't know what Ms. Castile would do if you got a public records request. I can tell you in your code, your city clerk is the custodian of public records. That's what it says in your code. If you want to change that, you could. You can't change it today because it's codified. It would take a written ordinance and 2 votes. That's what most cities do. If a citizen has a disagreement with a government body about a public records request, state has a thing called the Office of Open Records Counsel that a citizen can reach out to for assistance. And That's what their function of their office is, basically to act as a go-between between citizens and local governments if there's a disagreement about public records. Does that answer your question?
No, but gave me more context.
Okay. Well,
Good information.
but to answer your, I don't know what.
Was she city clerk before?
Yes.
Yeah, and so I think she kept
Long
that.
time ago,
Yeah,
way before any of us, well, way before me.
Yeah.
Ms. Castile was in fact the city clerk. Yes, she was. So you may be remembering what she did in that capacity, or perhaps as city manager, or perhaps as both. I don't know. I just don't.
Joe Kate was city manager, she was clerk.
Correct.
Okay, so maybe that's.
Yes,
I'm
she
showing
was
my
the,
age, I'm sorry.
I think the title was actually Director of Finance and Administration, but that person performs the functions of what's described in your charter and ordinance as city clerk.
Thank you.
Let me mention this to you. The reason your clerk is the custodian, because that's in your charter. Cities have to have a public records schedule of charges, and if you read that, I don't have it in front of me, but it's going to say city clerk because your charter says the clerk's the custodian of records. Now, under the public records law, there is no duty to create a document that does not exist. Okay? So if someone, I'll give you an example. This is a silly example, but I asked the Highway Patrol for witness statements a couple of weeks ago, and they wrote me back a letter and said, your request is denied. And I called and asked why, and they said, well, we don't have any witness statements. And I said, oh, okay. If you had told me that, I would have understood it. You see what I'm saying? They can't produce what does not exist. They didn't have it. So that's why they denied my request. It wasn't, they weren't trying to wordsmith it, but they didn't tell me they didn't have any statements, and I found that out when I called. But public records law is for documents that exist. If they don't exist, they don't exist.
So, for someone who's not totally in this, but not totally out of it either, what are you asking? What is the local chapter of NAACP asking for? Not Joe's refusal. I'm looking at numbers here.
So, because until we can get the city council to support the recusal of the city manager being involved in the process, I can get you more specific details of why we want certain documents. Right now, because there's a lack of trust in this process, we don't want to disclose certain information because that will basically shine light on some situation.
So here's my take on that, right?
So
we set policy. We hire one person. Right? We can set that policy. I would rather see your organization get it sorted. Hey, be very specific. And if you're unhappy, then come here. So this is not his answers are here. But you didn't give us all your
So let me just say this, Councilman.
I'm speaking for me, though.
Okay, so Councilman, I'm just saying on the very last stage, all we ask is for financial documents. What's misleading of them?
So that's number 21 now.
But I'm
just a
saying-
second ago, you were talking about all the other questions.
That's what I'm saying, but I'm saying you handpicked. And again, we're not gonna spend, if you want to, I'll go through the entire ORR and show you exactly what was given and what was not. Because when I say to you the information is very misleading, nothing aligned. So I'm saying to you that if this position is a 109 or a 112 or a 113 or what have you, when you read the job description, it doesn't list those things. It has a separate code for that. It doesn't align with what was sent. So to decipher the documents is where the challenge comes in at, because a lot of it is very misleading and it leads for misinterpretation. So I'm asking to have a clear, fine, definitive line of these job descriptions with these positions, because to my understanding, the original position that even that Seth Sumner was hired into, again, there was a transition position, but not the original position that he came into. So I don't know. I'm looking at all this different.
Last comment from me, and I'm going to step out of this. I'm looking at your email. I'm looking at his answers. I don't know the documentation you're talking about.
The OR.
The OR meaning
open records request.
I'm looking at it. I'm looking at your questions.
No, I just wanted to say the entire, or not just the questions up underneath, because when I'm saying to you, the first statement.
I got it all.
Okay.
I got it all here because you forwarded it to me.
Yeah.
That's even the name of the attachment.
Right.
I would answer them similar. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I don't. It's like, okay, now I'm going to ask you follow-up questions. I'm going to ask you follow-up questions. Ask them. But I feel like,
so,
other than 21, and you said he didn't provide it, and he said he did. So that's the only one I wrote down that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. We can answer that. Beverly, you did that. Were there any other documents?
Only I wrote that one.
There were no procurement cards for the times that he's looking for. Beverly pulled that stuff for me.
Okay. So if you're...
I'm asking to allow others to do their tasks without bias. If the city council chooses not to, that's your choice.
Well, no, you're assuming that... I take offense at that a little bit, that if we don't do what you want, we're biased.
No,
Councilman,
I'm saying this because I'm standing here before you, for the people. We have a list of complaints, we have a lot of petitions, we have a lot of things going on behind the scenes that I'm trying to handle this up front. I'm trying to do it diplomatically, and I have came and did everything step by step diplomatically. It's not a threat. I promise you, I'm trying to do the right thing. There's a lot of expenditures that the city can incur if we don't handle this thing up front. As Mr. Kimball, the attorney, just stated, we can take it to the state, we can go whatever which way we want to go. We can make it ugly or nice as we want. We can play this good. But to your point, Mr. Esty, I'm saying to you, at this junction, some things are non-negotiable. I'm saying to the city council, we're asking from the citizens of Cleveland, Tennessee, we're asking for something to be done. And that this process is not fair. So if you choose, and I'm saying this, and you can take it as a threat or however you want to take it, I'm telling you that there's issues, there's problems. The city of Cleveland has spoken and will continue to speak, and it won't end today regardless. So however we want to handle it, that's where we are.
Ms. Lawrence, I heard the city manager say he wanted to work it out any way he could, and he would like to also have a meeting with Avery Johnson, maybe a couple council members, and work this situation out. And I think it can be done smooth where everybody will understand and appreciate it. We have not had, since Joe Five has been here, any problem with his hiring, and the HR, Kim is involved in hiring, and we have not had any problems until now, to my knowledge. So I think sitting down and talking it out is a lot better than coming to a meeting and trying to present it to the whole city when they don't understand the details. So my question to you, are you willing to sit down, like Mr. Five said, Avery Johnson said, and I'm sure if you want Mr. Cassada and Mr. Estes, you talked about them earlier, that they'll be glad to sit down with you.
Mr. Hughes, I'm more than happy to work with the city of Cleveland in any way, shape, or form. As I've stated, that meeting was scheduled September the 18th, 9 a.m. at this facility. That meeting was canceled by Mr. Joe Fivers, the city manager. It was an opportunity to hash this out before we got to this junction. So the fact that we're standing here saying, can we work together? The attempts are being made and have been made.
Yeah.
Some of the things that you guys are sitting here quoting, do you know to be fact? You made a statement that HR is involved in all hiring practices. Do you know that to be factual?
I don't know about every situation, but I know many situations
Correct.
they are involved.
But the
I
point
don't know about all of them.
But the point that I'm trying to make is there's a lot of assumption being made by the city council that they don't know that's fact or not. We have a lot of assumptions. I'm trying to get to the nitty-gritty. I'm trying to get the hands on actual documents and get the right individuals to find out what's really going on. I'm not trying to just go with what's on the surface. And all I'm asking is for everybody to take the personal feelings out and let's look at what's real. Is there some things going on? Do your own due diligence. I even stated do your own due diligence. let's find out, why is it such, why are we doing jump through hoo-hoos to not be direct about, as Mr. Essex pointed out, he's looking at number 21. Okay, number 21 still wasn't done. But you said it took 2 weeks. We've been going through this since August. And it's taken the last 2 weeks that we've been waiting on. But number 21 still was one of the original documents needed, and it's not been done because they said it's not available. Okay, once again, communication. When I say, why couldn't we sit down and have this before we got here? Again, that's not my choice. I tried to. I took a vacation day. Others have taken vacation days to make these things happen. But unfortunately, as life happens, we have things that happen. That meeting had to be canceled. Just like the meeting with me and Vice Mayor Johnson and the city manager. Again, I didn't have anything to speak to, and I still don't have the documents to speak to on a lot of the allegations that's being made. The allegations that are being made, Mr. Hughes, there's a lot of allegations that city employees feel bullied, feel that they can't, that there is not a grievance process, like you can't file a grievance and follow through with anything. Everything stops and ends with Mr. Fox, as it should, because you guys have said you hire one person to do it all. And that one person can also get to a point where there's an abuse of authority.
So if
I'm
that's
standing before
the case, I think there's probably a different process than open records.
But the point to it I'm making, Mr. Estes, is
that's a serious.
So what I'm saying to you is, yes, it's very serious. That's why initially, my number one request, as I stated before I came up here, I just wanted to meet with the HR person for the city of Cleveland, just to get an understanding of how things work. That's all I wanted. That was stopped. I was not able to do that. That's all I wanted. So, to your point, when you're asking me to stand before you and work with the city, let's work with the city manager, let's do this. Those things are the path that I've taken to get here. Those are the roadblocks that I've ran against, that I'm standing before you, that I'm telling you that those doors are the doors that were knocked on. That's why I'm standing before you this afternoon, telling you what else is there to do, gentlemen.
I appreciate hearing that more than questions that are easily answered.
So that's what I'm saying.
This is a different path to get to where you really want to be.
And I apologize, Bill, again. However, the point that was made, there was still allegations and accusations coming forward. We just wanted to speak to the HR manager. That's all that we requested.
Lawrence, Mr. Mayor. You know, the one thing, I'm stuck because of the fact that you want to remove the manager out of the way. I've been a manager. I'd hate for somebody to work for my department to issue documents as important as these documents and information as important as these information is. And I know that that's exactly what you want. I know what you want to see. I know what you need. But the thing about it is, I just can't see why we can't just go ahead and see if we can work it out. Now, I know you done it 1,000 times, but do it 1,001 more time.
Vice Mayor.
Because we need to see if we can work it out.
Solid. I hear what you're saying. All I'm asking is, can we follow the law? The open records request is a part of the law. The attorney just stated what the law was. Can we follow the law? Can we obey the law? That's all we're asking. Can we obey the law?
Well, if we do the open record, we would definitely follow the law.
So all I'm saying is, that's what I'm standing before you. If you could go back to the original statement, what we're asking is I'm trying to follow the law in obtaining the open records without bias.
Yeah.
And so in order to do it without bias, if something is pertaining to you, you have to recuse yourself from that process. This is not new to anybody. I'm not asking for rocket science. I'm just saying, if it's something pertaining to a situation, it could be a conflict of interest, you have to recuse yourself. That's all I'm asking.
But the open record doesn't bother me. I don't have no problem with that. The problem is the process. You want us to take the manager out of the process. And I don't see why that is necessary. I really don't, because I know a lot of members of these council members up here, even though I've been here as long as any of them, but I still know the integrity of these people and the appreciation that they have for the NAACP, and especially me, because I was on the industry and labor for the NAACP. I just don't see that being a problem that you want to exclude somebody who's responsible for that process. of what you need.
So, Vice Mayor, I'm sad to say, and I'm saying this directly, from my personal relationship to where you reside as Vice Mayor today. The fact that we're having this conversation before the city of Cleveland right now, it saddens my heart to know that there's things that's being done, that everyone in this city don't have a fair opportunity to be partaking. If a person is being hired without jobs being posted, how are minorities supposed to have a chance? How am I supposed to be able to get that opportunity? How are we going to show diversity, equity, and inclusion when we're doing things without anybody even knowing? So to speak on why I'm here on behalf of the NAACP, when we talk about equality and justice for all, I'm speaking of how can Vice Mayor Johnson know the roads that were paved to get him to where he is here today, should understand more than anybody on this city council on why I'm standing before you, trying to get a clear guide and understanding of removing an obstacle that's creating challenges for other things to be done for everybody in this community. That's what I'm standing before you.
Yeah, well, I just feel like if we come together, we can solve this problem, even for future generations yet to come.
And so,
and I don't understand why we can't come together and solve this issue.
Is there any reason, can you share with me, what's the reason that if there's nothing to hide, what's the reason for not wanting to accuse a person from this situation that it's going to be, that can cause bias?
I would hate to be a manager over something that I'm responsible for, and I just believe we're going to do the right thing.
So, and I'll jump on that one. It's not an answer, it's just an observation. Open records are open records. You can interpret them however you want. We just have to provide them. If we don't provide them, then ask again. Because so 21 we got sorted. Number 8 is the only other one I'm hearing that there's discrepancy.
So, Kelly,
you talk about bias coming in. There can be bias on interpretation. I don't understand code 301 versus 197 or whatever, but those are things that objective answers can be given.
All right, it is 2:58. It is my job, unfortunately, as mayor, to moderate these meetings. We have 2 minutes until we're supposed to adjourn and reconvene for the 3 o'clock business session. This is what I propose to my colleagues here on the council. We've heard from Mr. Armstrong at the request of Mr. Vice Mayor Johnson. We've heard conversations and discussions with Councilman Estes. You are back on the agenda at 3 o'clock under the public comment section. We will have a second opportunity for this discussion at the 3 o'clock work session. We don't have time for reports from the council. We don't even have time for a review of the 3 o'clock agenda. The agenda was presented to the entire council prior last week, so we have all familiarized ourselves with the agenda. I'm going to make a decision to end the discussion right now, and we will pick it back up at the 3 o'clock meeting. Are there any other comments from the council? Request from Mr. Estes, Councilman Estes, to reconvene at 3:10. Is there any objection? Mayor Mario? One time. Adjourn till